Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic edition of Sphere of Success. And here today he's an incredible gentleman. He travels to Africa, he travels around the world internationally, standing on worldwide platforms to get his voice across. And it's the wonderful Matt Allen. He is the proud founder of Kudos Miracles, and Miracles is definitely what he makes, and also of Demo Cry. And as we progress this conversation, this will become more clear as to what he does. That the man is on a mission. He truly is. And he's just the leader with the biggest heart, speaks from his authentic power from his heart is just wonderful. So, Matt, welcome. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Deborah, thank you very much. It is wonderful to be with you again, especially sat in front of my nice warm fire. Hopefully it won't set my fire on my hair on fire either. It's
I
wonderful
think
to be with you again. Definitely.
yeah, for everybody out there, we're in the UK and it's getting a little bit chilly now. So yeah, we're all keeping warm. Lovely. And Matt, as always, it's always nice for everybody here to get a little bit about a background view of what makes you Matt, what you do, and yeah, do tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes you tick?
Okay, so as briefly as possible, I am just about turned 50, and for 37 years of that, I have had a rare health condition that's very similar in many respects to a health condition that a lot of people are familiar with, which is diabetes. But I have what's called brittle type 1 diabetes, which means that it's impossible to control. And that has had some impacts on my life, some complications of that. And I basically, that miracles word, I basically tried to make myself get better and find a way to not just make myself better from some of the complications, but find a way to move forwards into the future to provide money for real medical research into things that will actually solve some of the world's biggest problems. And in that process, I decided to change the way that business can be done, so that then miracles can happen in many different markets and solve some of the biggest problems in the world. That sounds like a very grand scale thing to do. But I think all of us, hopefully everybody watching your show, appreciates that really we need change in the world. And that change is what I aim to provide by doing things different.
Wow, amazing. And well done to you because this in sphere of success is triumphing over adversity and challenge and using it as a method from which we can learn and grow. And it does seem to me that right from the get-go, you've had challenges which have turned you into somebody that won't take no for an answer. How does does that resonate?
Said no to me how many times when I said, "Can I be on your show?" And still,
Ah, no, that's not true.
yeah, I very much am a fighter and a believer in resilience and not giving up and finding a real way forward, not just being compliant with what we're given, but finding ways for everybody to benefit. And really just not just fighting for myself, but holding a hand out to other people, and taking a hand of other people at the same time who want to help me, so that then we can all move forwards together, right? That's the point of life, is to make something better out of the world for our future generations, really, I guess.
Oh, I love that philosophy. And I've been doing a little bit of self-work since the nervous breakthrough. And one
Oh,
of the things that I keep on coming up with is the fact that got to work on ourselves so that we can see the change in our outer world. And with that, going forward from what you are doing now, was this something, this revelation that came about? What was the catalyst with you thinking, right, I want to start to do this great good in the world. I want to develop, now that you've called it Kudos Miracles and Demo Cry. What was the pivotal moment that actually you thought, you know what? Yeah, this is what I want to be doing. This is the reason why.
So it's twofold actually. About maybe 15 years ago now, I was working in advertising, and I'd kind of come up with the basic principle behind the bigger idea, which was for an advertising platform that gave people back control of their data, so that then people would benefit, not just the big platforms like Google and Facebook and such like. And I kind of had traveled a little journey through life. That diabetes that I mentioned, that affects many people in terms of their mental health. And I'd been depressed a lot of my younger years and tried to commit suicide. And my body actually tries to kill me on a regular basis because of the condition that I have. And so I decided to try and do something worthwhile with my life, because I realistically thought I didn't have that much longer to live, because effectively the body is trying to kill me constantly. And I come up with that idea. Then that was sort of just a progression. And then I did get very seriously ill and prevented from doing what I wanted to do at that point. Some of the complications that I alluded to before, and they ended me up in a very serious situation where I was addicted to fentanyl, morphine. My stomach had basically given up and doesn't work at that stage. I've spent time in a wheelchair, and one of my eyes is very seriously damaged, and I have very limited sight out of it. And that eye, when I had one of my operations on it, the operation didn't go very well. And effectively, what happened was that my eye sealed up, and I spent 6 days in hospital screaming and really wanting to kill myself, because of the building pressure in my eye and some of the effects of that. Um, I was given a rubber glove filled with cold water. When I say cold, tepid water, to put on the side of my face, because that was the only pain relief that they could give me, because I was already on so much fentanyl and morphine and they couldn't give me anything else. I finally came out of that situation, lost my sight, and effectively became very much blind, because my other eye had a problem at the same time. And I came to the conclusion that I'm not going to get fixed. I'm really, this is it. And this is the end of the road. There are so many things that are just destroying me. Am I going to take that, or am I going to fight? And I decided to fight. And I have, like I say, caused some miracles in my own life, and spent a lot of time really just based on that original idea of that platform for advertising, working out how to change business and how to do that in a big way to affect the biggest changes in our communities, from making poverty a thing of the past, to solving the housing crisis, to democry that really gives us, and maybe this is a touchy subject at the moment, we need to be careful, but true democracy, and how to hold our leaders accountable, not just who we vote in and leave them to it, but a bit like everybody who does their job. We all do our due responsibilities, and then we have our review at 6 or 12 months, and we're held accountable for what we did. Why are politicians kept out of that? World leaders, country leaders, local community leaders, they should all be responsible to the people that vote them in. And voting them in represents an opportunity to hold them accountable. And then just to put the icing on the cake, that also is possible to solve war and make world peace happen. So those things kind of came to me as a result of a lot of bad experience and things that I've been through, and just wanting the world to be a better place for me and for everybody. And like I say, the future generations that are not even born yet. We don't want them to grow up in this world that we see as potentially very different to what we viewed as our dream when we were small. Don't know about you, but I want it to be many things, ranging from a doctor to a lawyer to a fireman and a racing car driver. In fact, I also wanted to be a helicopter pilot, but the diabetes puts a very strict play to that, and I can't do that. But we grew up wanting things to be miraculous when we were small. We wanted the world to be an amazing place, and we just saw that in our innocence. And as we get older, we realize that, well, that's not quite the world that we live in. We aspire to that. But how do we do that currently? Because there seems very little option for people to get that in their lives. And certainly going forwards, it looks like many powers that be are trying to curtail our freedoms and our opportunities to live life to the fullest. I'm here to fight against that.
Wow, big cause, big cause. Now, just Matt, I don't know, can you set your sound up a little because it's just a little bit difficult to hear, and I want people to make sure that they've got the very best listening opportunity.
Certainly, 1 second. Is that better, my friend?
Oh, yeah, that's better. Yeah.
I was on a different platform yesterday, and Zoom, I don't know if you know, but it adjusts the microphone down. If you're on a different platform for some unknown reason, it just quietens it to half height. So yeah.
Okay, fine. Now we can hear you now. That's good. So, with that in mind, you've obviously suffered incredible, as I say, challenges, etc., as a young person and growing up and having all of these issues, and now you've got this global mission to help a democracy, to look at these amazing miracles that you have. Could you describe the different miracles that you want to be for doing it with Kudos?
Yeah, so realistically, there is an approach to this and understanding of how it may well happen. One of the things that I mentioned just before is to solve the housing crisis. That's not necessarily directly here in the UK, but you mentioned also Africa. So maybe I can just portray a little journey into what that may look like and how that evolves into many of the other solutions coming online. I will be visiting, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, a friend of mine over in Uganda called Amos. And where he lives in Uganda, they make amazing coffee. It is the best coffee that you have ever tasted, trust me. Now, that coffee is in a community where there is a lot of poverty and hardship. Many people are people trafficked because they don't have homes to live in, and life is very difficult, right? So we, as an organization, aim to do a number of things on that front. Number one is that we seek to find the investment, and it is investment, not charity or giving to an organization. It is investment to develop housing for people who do not have houses, solving the homeless crisis in a local community. Okay. And then basically what we would aim to do is set up two companies. One, a housing organization that property would be part of, and people would work in that housing organization, from things like accounts to marketing to somebody to make the coffees in the coffee shop to somebody to build the homes. Many people, hopefully, to build many homes. And then those people who are employed to do those jobs pay their rent in those homes, and they basically, through that company, manage to have a home, a roof over their head, security, and a job to move forwards. Now, not everybody would want to work for a housing company or has the ability to, but alongside of that, we would have a coffee plantation that would enable people who want to work in that setting to go and do that. And that coffee plantation would be providing the best coffee in the world, potentially. And we would make coffee shops around the world where we would sell said coffee. And those coffee shops would tell the story about what's happening to help people solve their homing crisis, their poverty crisis, their security crisis, and bring about real change in a community in Uganda. However, that's not the very crux of that. We actually have a very simple but wonderful way to actually enable those people who are renting, proving they can pay their rent and pay that on a regular basis, and they have a long-standing job and such, like building their credit score and reference. to be able to own properties that we are also then building because we continue to building a community. Now, you think about that community and how that is solving those problems for those people. And let's imagine that there's a lot of demand for that. I can imagine there is. So let's imagine that there's 1,000 people in that community. Those 1,000 people may well want to elect a leader, a community leader, to look after them and what their interests are. And we have another platform, like I say, called Democry, that would enable them to vote in a leader, a true vote, not what we get told is the result of an election, as may happen in various different places around the world. So it enables that. And then let's say that those people who are elected as the leader of that community and their policy that they want to put upon the people and the people want is to build a security fence around this community, a fence, a wall to keep people out or keep people in, whatever the case may be. That's not for me to decide. That's what the community wants. And we would make sure that that community leader is doing what those people want to build that wall so that then they get the wall because that's what they want that community leader to do. So perhaps 6 to 12 months down the line, we hold another vote to say, has your community leader actually done what they say that they want? Yes or no? And if they have, are you happy about that and you want them to stay? Or if they haven't, do you think that's down to something out of their control? Or do you think that it's because they're not doing what you want as the people? And you can imagine that if people are unhappy, they'll vote that leader out and then vote a new leader in. And then you think about that, about these coffee shops, which are telling a story about a community that has solved their housing crisis, solved poverty in their local area, made everybody safe and secure, and has community leaders that are actually interested in the welfare of the people that have voted them in, because that's what they're supposed to be doing, leading a community, not exploiting it. And you imagine what those coffee shops are telling people all around the world about how this is possible in their own localities through the changes that are possible and the changes that everybody wants, needs to see.
Very interesting. So we're decentralizing the power from,
Most definitely.
yeah, yeah. I see this as a great force for change, which how I'm going to say from the point of view of where you're finding resistance and not so much resistance, you're mentioning Africa. What kind of culture, what kind of take-up are you getting for this type of decentralized approach from the leadership perspective that you're advocating?
So most of my time is spent talking to various people. I mostly exist on LinkedIn rather than any other platform. And I talk to people ranging from doctors to politicians to various people from walks of business life, in local government, all sorts of people, just people doing the various jobs that are out there, from virtual assistants to SEO experts, whoever it might be. I talk to them and validate my representation of what business should be like, what the world could be like, what people want, so that then I can make sure that that is what people want. Because at the end of the day, a people-driven solution, much like a community, should be driven by the people that it serves. And so I validate that amongst everybody that I speak to. And I'm sure you will vouch to this because we already talked on a one-to-one basis about what it is that I do. And the person who recommended me to you, who we met through, she had the very same conversation. And people very much want to have me on their talk shows. They want me to talk to them. They want to be involved. They want to support. And the snowball grows as we're sat here in chilly England. We'll use that as a descriptor for that. And so it becomes more and more possible. And I have friends throughout the world who I get amazing opportunities to speak at various things. Like the other week, I was talking at a hybrid conference in Nigeria, about politics and about peace and how to make that effectively happen in the world, through to people in education, health settings, whatever the case may be. And these globes, these are really what what are our brand logos, if you like, for various things. They represent different opportunities, different solutions to the biggest problems. And realistically, it's a matter of making the word heard and also finding people to collaborate, work with us. And we have had some investment opportunities, which we decided not to take because we're looking for the right investment from the right people, so that then we can make sure that this is driven by, again, what people want rather than just the powerful few at the top. Um, so it's a hard graft to do, but it's a very enjoyable work. And it's wonderful to meet the most amazing, miraculous friends that I have, from people like you through to so many others.
Wow, this is amazing. Now, this is such a big entity in itself, a big purpose. How can you think about now seeking those people that you need to get this ball rolling in a real commercial sense? If you were speaking to somebody now with that person in mind, what kind of person would you like to have this message put out to?
So there's a couple of answers to that. One is a very traditional one, and I don't go for traditional. If you can figure the way that I think, it's a very radical approach to the world's problems, right? The sorts of people that I am looking for, and I quite invariably come across, are people that really understand that people are the solution to the biggest problems in the world. People who value people, people who think that the true value in our world that we represent is not the output of what we produce, or how they can be exploited, or how many percentage points they can raise off of a individual or off of a group of people, but about caring for those people. Because fundamentally, to change business, we need to change from those things, to change from just how do we make the most money, but more to how do we deliver the most value. And there is money to be made. This is a business. I am not a charity in any way, shape, or form. The money is there, the marketplace is there. How many people need a home? Everybody. How many people need access to food that actually nourishes them? Everybody. How many people need healthcare that actually makes them or their family better and gives them an option that is not necessarily cutting them to bits or addicting them to morphine, fentanyl, or antidepressants, for example? A lot of people. These are big marketplaces, big business. And the opportunity is there to provide what people want in economic terms: supply and demand. People demand change. To supply that change, there is money to be made, but not in an exploitative way, but to find ways to then put that money back into community to provide things that make a difference and that actually grow our economies rather than stifling them and causing the predicaments that we are in currently. People
And
are
how do
interested in
you,
those things.
yeah, very interesting. I mean, I keep on thinking that you are up against adversity and challenge with this all the time because
I,
it's a huge paradigm to shift, but unless there are beautiful people like you in the world, this shift will never happen because somebody's got to start somewhere. Um, with regards to the UK, is there anybody here that you feel is listening to your way of thinking, or is it mainly in, say, emerging economies?
Everybody's listening to this now, because everybody understands the situation that we are in. Not everybody who should listen listens. For example, I had some difficulty when I first started up trying to get business leaders, business support networks, the local council, national government, all sorts of people that I spoke to about my themes, which were very interested early on, until I basically decided to tell them, no, I'm not interested in selling, well, giving you part of my business to be able to access what you can provide to me. I don't want to dwell on that. It's not something that I'm here to discuss. But England, for me, has been a very difficult position because the powers that be that control what business looks like to some extent, are not interested in the welfare of the people that should be there to serve. Whereas in different emerging economies, like you said, the drive to do something different, to find the real thing that people want, because in those economies, they really value what people bring to the table in terms of their value and just being able to support their community as a whole. That is fundamental to me. If there's people in England, I very much believe nowadays that are, because really the world has become a different place, especially in our country, where there are things afoot that most people are starting to experience. And if they don't experience it firsthand, they certainly go down the local high street and see all the shops shut, or they go to the doctors and see many, many people in there who are ill and needing treatment. And those are just two aspects of life that are very different to how they should be in what is supposed to be the leading light of democracy in our world and one of the most beneficial places to live. There's a lot of difficulties here now. And so I think that represents to people who have the ability to be able to change those things, the opportunity to do that. And just as a by the by, even if you have £100 million in the bank, how is that going to save you amongst some of these people who are really looking to control the way that people live, breathe, buy their goods and services? And those people are not interested in anybody below them. They are just the elite people who control the way that the things are. And if people want to find a way to get past that, we need to figure out how to do things differently and how to enable people, because really it's people power that can change the world, not just powerful people.
Excellent. Well said. And, we all have a place in the world, central and decentralized governments. We can all work to the greater good. And it's wonderful that you're knocking on the door, posing uncomfortable questions. But I do believe that there is a groundswell of people like yourself who are out there trying to make a difference, trying to have change happen where it's most wanted and needed, and that change is real and sustainable.
Yeah,
And that you've got a model there that operates in a world that actually it works, and it actually has the legs from a commercial standpoint as well.
yeah.
So I wish you every success with what you're doing. And you're a man on a mission. You have a superb purpose. It's wonderful to see how things are blossoming and growing, and you work incredibly hard and are always on an aircraft somewhere and traveling to goodness knows where and putting up with all sorts of issues while you're there, and making sure that you still shine your light. And that is something really true and blessed. And that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast, is to share your wonderful message. So Matt, how can people get hold of you?
So basically, the words "Kudos Miracles" is the way to find me. I am on Facebook, but very little. You can reach me through LinkedIn. Just search "Kudos Miracles." You'll see my face and some of these globe things, and click on me and send me a message. Or we have a website, which is www.kudosmiracles.com. Yeah, pretty straight.
Wonderful, Matt. Lovely. Thank you so much. And everybody listening, do be in touch with Matt. He's an inspiration in himself. He's not toxically, but genuinely positive about all the things that have happened to him in his life, because he knows that that's what's got him to the stage where he's at, and they've all been learning opportunities. As I say, if you're interested in the work that he's doing, do be in touch, especially from a business perspective. If you're seeing that there's different ways that world can operate and that the people who need it most get what they need, it's a wonderful time for this theme anyway, for this time of year. So again, thanks, Matt. And for everybody listening, thanks again for tuning in. It's been wonderful to have you. And as always, wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so much. I feel blessed from the bottom of my heart. Like, subscribe, share. You never know who this may touch, that thinks, oh yeah, this really resonates with me. And until next time, thanks everybody so much. See you all again very soon.